Joining us live now is one of the organizers of the No Kings protests. He is Robert Weissman, co-president of the consumer advocacy group Public Citizen. Robert, thank you so much for being with us. So these protests are taking place and you've got millions of Americans expected to take part amid the ongoing ICE arrests and also this idea of President Trump sending National Guard troops to Democratic-led cities. My question to you is, what tangible difference do you hope that these protests can actually make in terms of how the Trump administration conducts its business here?
Hey, well, it's great to be with you. These are going to be the largest protests in American history, and they're going to show the broad and widespread rejection of the authoritarian agenda of Donald Trump. They're going to be in big cities, small towns, rural areas, suburbs, every single state, every single congressional district. It's everywhere. And the first thing is to be clear that when Donald Trump claims a total mandate to impose an authoritarian agenda, these demonstrations illustrate he does not have that mandate. The next thing is the authoritarian playbook is make people be scared, make them feel isolated, make them feel alone. When we come together in these large numbers, millions and millions, people feel solidarity and empowered and ready to take on the authoritarian agenda. And the last thing is it makes politicians stronger. In a better world, our politicians would be leading the opposition to Trump, but they need to be pushed. And we've seen these demonstrations throughout this past year doing exactly that. So the Democratic opposition is now stronger because people are demanding it. And this is how we do that.
How do you quantify that the Democratic opposition is stronger? Because this is an impressive turnout, no doubt. We saw millions of Americans taking to the street earlier this summer as well. But judging by the poll numbers, that's not reflected in the statement that you just made in terms of where Democrats stand in this country. And I guess in response to the accusations against these protests that they're Antifa-led. The governor of Texas is sending out the National Guard and warning about potential unrest in Austin. The House Speaker is saying this is un-American, that they're Hamas supporters. I mean, how do you respond to both arguments? It's not reflected in the polls and how Republicans are characterizing this.
Well, a few different things. So this is not about supporting the Democratic Party. This is a nonpartisan protest movement. We're a nonpartisan organization. But the minority party needs to stand stronger against Donald Trump, and this is helping them do that. We're seeing that as they're standing up and refusing to capitulate to an agenda that would cut off health care for millions of Americans, a budget proposal that would cut off health care for millions of Americans, and refusing to accept an administration that says it has the authority to ignore what Congress says it must spend. That's coming because people are demanding it. As for this other part, this business about the protests are led by Antifa, there is no such thing as Antifa. It's an idea, it's not an organization. And the claims from these political leaders that this protest is anti-American are shameful. Protest is evidence of American freedom. Protest is evidence of American strength. Every important move forward in American history has come in response to popular protests. So the claims, the specific factual claims are just fabricated. But even more important than that is they are trashing the proudest of American traditions. It goes back to the founding of the country based on protest and rejection of authoritarianism. They should be embracing this most fundamental of American values, whether or not they agree with our specific claims. Shame on them. But people are not going to be deterred. We're going to see, again, millions of Americans turning out, not because they're being puppet mastered by somebody externally, but because there's this grassroots momentum opposing the authoritarian agenda of Donald Trump.
And just in terms of practical measures that ordinary people can take. I mean, obviously, legal battles are still playing out in court as it pertains to, the National Guard troops being sent to Democratic-led cities. But when you think about that and you think about these ICE raids taking place across the country, what can, beyond just protesting, what can ordinary Americans do to counteract this authoritarian agenda in the ways that I've listed out?
Well, there are a lot of things. It ranges the gamut from contacting members of Congress and telling them to stand up, to providing solidarity on the ground to immigrants who are being targeted by these nefarious and illegal ICE kidnappings. And people are doing that across the country. It means providing support to people who are being cut off from healthcare by a Republican agenda that has decided that we're going to throw close to 20 million people off of health insurance. It means helping people in your neighborhood who are dealing with increasing prices due to various Trump policies. And it means, most of all, not cowing and staying at home alone and afraid, but joining together with other people. We still have, it's fragile, but it's still a democratic country. And we strengthen the democracy, we protect the democracy, we advance the democracy by exercising vigorously our democratic rights. And we do that together in the streets, but in churches, in schools, and so on, but collectively. And that's what we're seeing people doing across this country in numbers really never seen before.
All right, Robert Weissman, live for us. Thank you so much.